Calcutta, at the turn of the 20th century. Just as it was the fountainhead for the spiritual, literary and cultural renaissance in Bengal, the city was the crucible for scientific awakening as well. From this awakening emerged, within a short span of a quarter of a century, towering figures of Indian science, such as Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose, Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray, Dr. Upendranath Brahmachari, Sir C.V. Raman, Professor Prashant Chandra Mahalanobis, Professor Meghnad Saha, and Professor Satyendranath Bose. The science produced during this period was extraordinary. If C.V. Raman was the first Indian to win the Nobel Prize in Science, no less than Albert Einstein himself brought young Satyen Bose's path-breaking work to the attention of the world. While Brahmachari discovered the cure for Kala Azar or visceral leishmaniasis, Jagdish Bose demonstrated wireless radio communication well before Marconi did. The science movement was in some sense a natural extension of the religious and social reform movements and the intellectual awakening that swept through Bengal through the 19th century and into the 20th century.
Calcutta was the cultural capital, it was also the political capital. Scientific activity was seen as a continuation of nationalist struggle.
The Asiatic Society, established in 1784 by Sir William Jones, brought about the initial exposure of Indians to European science. But there were hardly any opportunities for Indians to pursue advanced science. The few government centres for advanced science that existed were closed to Indians on the ground that they lacked training. There were, however, two notable exceptions. In the 1830s, 20-year-old Radhanath Sikdar, a graduate of the Hindu College, which became Presidency College in 1857, was picked up for his extraordinary mathematical skill by George Everest to be his chief computer in the Great Indian Trigonometric Survey. It was Sikdar who identified the highest peak in the world, now known as Mount Everest. The other was Dr. Pramothanath Bose, the first Indian geologist to be employed by the Geological Survey of India or the GSI. His most outstanding achievement was the discovery of iron ore deposits in Mayurbhanj that led to the establishment of the Tata Iron and Steel Company in Jamshedpur. Calcutta owes it to Father Eugene Lafont of St. Xavier's and scholars Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar and Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee for sowing the seeds of modern science in the city, although the latter two were unable to pursue science themselves. In 1869, Dr. Sarkar wrote an article in the Calcutta Journal of Medicine titled "On the Desirability of a National Institution for the Cultivation of Sciences by the Natives of India." He argued that the prevailing backwardness of the country was due to backwardness in science. The article brought forth substantial financial support. The institution, which came to be called the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, or the IACS, was formally established in February 1876 at 210 Beaubazar Street. This address would become famous later as the place where Raman did his award-winning work. In this endeavour, Dr. Sarkar found an unexpected supporter in Father Lafont. After his arrival in Calcutta in 1865, Father Lafont, having been trained in physics in Belgium, had not only begun to teach science, but was popularizing it as well through his lectures and magic lantern slideshows. This he continued for 42 years till his death in 1908. Father Lafont also established St. Xavier's as a premier institution of science in the city by setting up an excellent physical laboratory and undertaking meteorological and astronomical observations. In 1875, Father Lafont set up a 7-inch equatorial refracting spectro telescope as part of an astronomy observatory at St. Xavier's. The telescope is functional even today, at the same place as it was set up 130 years ago. For the young enthusiasts of Calcutta, the lectures at the association were invigorating and inspiring. Nowhere else in India was such training available. Yet, organized research had to wait till the University Science College was established in 1914 by Sir Ashutosh, after he became the first Indian Vice-Chancellor of Calcutta University.
We know that Mahendralal Sarkar started this Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. Scientific research by Indians did not start because of momentum from within the country. Scientists had to come back from Britain with training to initiate scientific research. Both J.C. Bose and P.C. Ray were trained in Britain.
J.C. Bose and P.C. Ray did outstanding research at Presidency College, at least a decade before the Science College came into being. In 1894, Bose began his investigations into the generation, transmission and propagation of electromagnetic waves in the 5 mm to 1 cm region, the smallest wavelength then possible. He published his first paper in 1895 in the Journal of the Asiatic Society. In the same year, Bose gave a public demonstration of wireless transmission of electromagnetic waves through solid walls at the city's town hall, in the presence of his colleague P.C. Ray and his mentor Father Lafont, which showed the possibility of signaling by short electromagnetic waves.
Microwaves transmitted from Bose's instrument moved straight forward, pierced through a closed door to reach the adjacent room. On reaching Professor Pedler's room, the microwaves fired a pistol.
This was before Guglielmo Marconi's experiments in 1899 to 1901. Bose also developed techniques of using crystals like galena to detect electromagnetic waves, for which he obtained patent rights in 1904. At the turn of the century, Bose shifted his attention to plant physiology and devised ingenious techniques to study tiny movements in plants in response to electrical stimuli. He also studied the similarity of responses in the living and the non-living. More than anything else, he was an institution builder. He founded the Bose Institute in 1917. Today, it is one of the leading institutions for basic sciences in the country. Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray, 3 years younger than Bose, joined Presidency College in 1889 as a professor of chemistry, after obtaining his doctorate in 1887 from Edinburgh. In 1916, he became the Palit Professor of Chemistry at Science College. Ray discovered the method to prepare crystalline mercurous nitrate, earlier regarded as unstable. With his systematic and sustained chemical research, practically unknown in his day, he established an Indian school of chemistry and put it on a high pedestal. Besides being a pioneer chemist, Ray was also instrumental in starting, with his meagre income and cooperation from friends, the Bengal Chemical and Pharmaceutical Works. The company remains an important name in the Indian chemical and pharmaceutical industry. One young man who was greatly influenced by P.C. Ray was Upendranath Brahmachari, known for his breakthrough discovery of a cure for Kala Azar, a protozoal infection caused by sandfly bites. This therapeutic advance opened up a new vista in the treatment of the disease in India. The identification of ureastibamine, an organic compound of antimony, as the drug against Kala Azar came following his extensive research between 1915 and 1921 at the Campbell Medical School, now renamed Neel Ratan Sarkar Medical College and Hospital. The city was responsible for two earlier milestones in tropical medicine: the identification of the cholera germ by Robert Koch in 1882 and the Anopheles mosquito as the carrier of malaria infection by Ronald Ross in 1896. But this was the first major achievement by an Indian medical scientist. C.V. Raman was the first to begin research at the association in 1907, more than 3 decades after it came into being, when he was posted in Calcutta as an officer in the Indian Audit and Accounts Service. He had discovered the place by chance, and because of his abiding interest in physics, Raman carried out his research during his spare hours. By 1917, Raman was so well known that Sir Ashutosh offered him the Palit Professorship in Physics at Calcutta University. Raman was preoccupied with the effects of light scattering since his college days. He sought answers to questions such as, why is the sky blue? Why is the ocean blue? Beginning in 1922, Raman began systematic investigations in light scattering with his students, especially K.S. Krishnan, which ultimately led to the Nobel Prize-winning Raman effect. Mahalanobis is known as the father of the statistical movement in the country. The 50 years of his life in statistics can justly be called the golden era of Indian statistics. A physicist by training, Mahalanobis took up statistics seriously in 1917 at the urging of Acharya Brajendranath Seal, the then Calcutta University Professor of Philosophy. His early studies in the 1920s were on the application of statistical methods to anthropological measurements, which led to his invention in 1927 of the famous d-squared statistic, known as the Mahalanobis distance, a measure of affinity between two populations. Mahalanobis also carried out what is today called operations research to arrive at solutions for tackling problems of floods in Bengal and Orissa in the 1920s, and later to provide an analytical basis for the Hirakud hydroelectric project. His greatest contribution to statistics are perhaps the techniques for large-scale sample surveys, which he developed in the 1930s and 40s. Like J.C. Bose, Saha and Raman, Mahalanobis too was an institution builder. In 1931, he founded the Indian Statistical Institute, or ISI, which has provided the essential base for the development of statistics in the country. Mahalanobis was also instrumental in the setting up of the official statistical system of the country. As the National Statistical Advisor, Mahalanobis provided the draft plan frame in 1955 for the second 5-year plan, which established a model-based approach to national economic planning. M.N. Saha was one of the pioneers of modern physics in India. He became internationally known for his study of high-temperature ionization and the discovery of the famous ionization formula in 1920. Saha's theory of thermal ionization and its application in the solar and stellar spectra opened a new direction in astrophysics. After his post-graduation in 1915, Sir Ashutosh appointed him a lecturer at the newly founded Science College in 1916. Satyendranath Bose and Mahalanobis were his colleagues. Required to teach relativity at the Science College, Saha and Bose undertook the first ever English translation of several of Einstein's papers from German. This was published as a book by Calcutta University with a foreword by P.C. Mahalanobis. Anxious that India should enter the nuclear age, Saha started a cyclotron project in the late 1930s, which, due to various reasons, could be completed only much later. He founded the Institute of Nuclear Physics in 1950. Saha also established the Indian Science News Association and started editing its journal, Science and Culture. This journal, for the 20 years that he edited it, focused on the interpretation of science and its popularization. It also focused on the application of science to bring about a technological revolution. S.N. Bose is best known for his seminal contribution to one kind of quantum statistics involving identical elementary particles, now known as Bose-Einstein statistics. The particles are called bosons. In his classic paper of 1924, he gave a new derivation of Max Planck's quantum radiation law, which reconciled with Einstein's new concept of light quanta. Bose had forwarded his manuscript to Einstein, who immediately saw its significance, translated it into German, and had it published. Within the next 6 months, Einstein wrote 3 papers showing that Bose's method, when extended to material atoms, yielded the correct quantum theory of ideal gases, the implications of which continue to be explored till this day. It was in Dhaka that Bose derived the formula for new quantum statistics. After being a lecturer for 5 years at the University Science College, Bose had joined Dhaka University in 1921. He returned to Calcutta to become the Khera Professor of Physics, from which post he retired in 1956. The city today. The name has changed from Calcutta to Kolkata, but the scientific temper continues to be a prominent feature of the city. The influence of its scientific legacy is very much in evidence in the academic institutions But paradigms have changed, and yet the objective of the research remains the same: the unraveling of nature in the quest for truth.